Kritika?
Well, we have been talking about startups, about investors that are wary of investing in India and asking them if at all they want to open up. But I have with me MR Rangaswami and Rajan Navani, who are at a kind of a contradictory view. So coming to you first, MR. Essentially, you have been representing and you have rather been talking to investors. According to you, investors are now looking at moving from Silicon Valley to India. Startups are looking at moving from Silicon Valley to India.
Yeah, so what has been happening here is Indiaspora represents the larger Indian American community. Yeah. So we've been talking to a lot of the community members about investing in India. And I think after seeing Prime Minister Modi today, I think more people are excited about that potential. So we think that U.S. investment in India in the venture capital space and the angel space will potentially double this year.
Mm-hmm. Okay,
potentially double this year compared to last year, yes. Okay. There's a lot of excitement there, but also I want to add that it's not just investment. A lot of Indian Americans want to be mentors and advisors to Indian companies, so it's not just money. See, money is the easy part. Okay. I think it's giving them the knowledge and the mentorship that can help them be more successful.
Okay. Rajan, you have been investing heavily in the Digital India drive. You, in fact, have created an ecosystem which aids government's Digital India drive and are now looking at moving to Silicon Valley. So, some perspective on that. Is India not conducive enough?
No, not. I think, what we are very bullish on the India market. And I think building on the infrastructure that is going to be built out through the Digital India program, we believe the opportunity to drive consumer services and other opportunities in India are going to be massive. Now, the challenge really lies in, being able to create these world-class global products, just being based in India. Okay. So what we are really looking at, we are investing in companies here in the Valley to kind of pick out some great talent, to be able to leverage a lot of the best practices that have created global businesses out of here and kind of work on product development from the US in such a manner that we can cater, to the large population in India through a lot of our digital programs. So that actually brings us back to investing here, particularly in the B2C space, which is where, we plan to play a very large part of our business model. We're running, short format video programs, digital programs with celebrity-led things. So a lot of things happening in that space.
So Rajan, right now at this point in time, you're also expanding your India operations. How are you, because I do believe you have had some kind of conversations with the government. Yeah. You have signed some kind of partnership with the government. Can you throw some light as to what is being done and what are the kind of partnerships that you're looking at to be able to, because we talk about the Digital India drive, we don't have any concrete numbers or figures yet.
No, you're absolutely right. I think programs like Digital India, at this stage, are really visionary agendas for what India can be. A lot of these things are going to take a few years to actually happen. And I think the message, that we get from government is stay invested in this process. Okay. You're not going to see results tomorrow or, day after, but we want you to stay invested with us as we go around, laying the infrastructure, because the opportunities that are going to be created as an outcome of that are going to be massive. And I think businesses today who are looking at India, particularly businesses like ours and many others, need to understand that, one needs to be part of that whole process of, building out that ecosystem and, staying invested in India in the long term to really be able to reap, benefits, as a business entity.
Okay, coming back to my first question, MR. Are North American investors looking at India from an exploratory point of view, or are they already putting their money into India?
So I can only comment on the tech space. I think there's been a bridge between India and US has been very strong for the past few years. Many Indian Americans have invested in India. Many venture funds have gone to India. So all that has been there. What we need to take to the next step is changing of some of the rules and regulations. Making it a little easier to start a company, making it easier to shut down a company, and having some clarity on some of the other issues around taxation. So I think if that is given by the Indian government, I think you'll see instead of doubling, it might even triple or quadruple in terms of investments coming in.
Okay, Rajan, you've been interacting with venture capital investors in India as well as Silicon Valley. Is the fact that there still isn't very clear bankruptcy laws in place a concern? Is the fact that regulatory norms are still uncertain still a concern?
Yes, it is. I would think there is a concern, though the direction is, again, as I said, the indications, the directions are absolutely clear. But I think bankruptcy law is a concern. Creation of a good debt market in India is still a concern. So there are some fundamental concerns, particularly for the investing community. The capitalization of banks, given the large NPAs which are there. So I think the government is moving in the right direction to make those happen. But, I think it's always a matter of how long is it going to take, and I think that is something that stays on the minds of people. But by and large, the gut feeling I get is that there is tremendous excitement about India. It is, one felt that, it could be waning, but at least here in the Silicon Valley, it's, I was at the community lunch this morning, this afternoon, we were at this digital dinner, CEO dinner tonight, and you just see the conversation, the entire excitement of the people wanting to engage with India is very, very high right now.
Rajan, in the last 3 days, in the last 1 week, do you think there has been a significant difference? We're at the tail end of Prime Minister's visit to the US. Has there been a significant difference? If yes, where? Is it just an awareness, or is it there in concrete numbers coming in?
Yeah, so, both MR and I were, over the last weekend in DC, during the strategic dialogue. And, we had a lot of meetings when the CEO thing happened. And I think we met a lot of politicians from both sides. I think the partnership between US and India is definitely being viewed very strongly by both the countries. And I think, you always say when two people come together, it's not 1 + 1, which is 2. I think the US and India relationship is really looking at each other like that. That if the US and India are able to come together, on several fronts, right? Whether it is strategic partnership for global, leadership in other areas, I think there is an opportunity here for India and the US to come together to really make a significant difference, not only in our two countries, but even around in the world. And I definitely feel there's been significant progress made on that front, as a part of, the 3 ministers who came in earlier, as well as Prime Minister Modi's visit in these last few days.
Okay, so before we wrap up, let me get in some closing comments. The two of you were present throughout Modi's visit over the last 1 week. What is different now than it was a week ago?
Well, I think
not much.
No. I think the confidence levels that the US has been able to get through this visit on the determination of India to continue to work towards the same goal and long term is definitely sustained. Every time you have ministerial delegations and the Prime Minister visiting here, it is a reaffirmation of India's commitment to this relationship. So I think that has definitely been enhanced over this 1 week. I think the visit to the Silicon Valley has made a large difference. It's 40 years since the Prime Minister, 35 years since the Prime Minister ever visited here. It has got the diaspora excited. It has got the fact that people want to engage excited. But really, how is it going to play out? And how long is it going to take? Well, I think that is something that, probably we'll have to wait and watch.
All right, same question to you. But I also would like to understand, do you feel that it's more about the fact that foreign investors are probably more aware than they were about what the government is doing to make a difference as far as investment climate is concerned?
Yeah, I think the big difference has been a year ago to now is U.S. investors are talking about tax terrorism and clarifications and so forth. The discussion now has changed to rules and regulations. So it's come to a different level. So I think it's a very positive framing of the issues as opposed to a year ago where it was all negative outlook. So I think that itself, is a big progress. And like I said, I believe investments from the U.S. to India this year in the venture capital space, all of last year was $2 billion. I think it's been $2.5 billion year this year. So there's a good chance that it'll double. So the numbers will speak for themselves at the end of the year.
Last set of observations. Through the visit, how open was Modi to receiving, how open was the Prime Minister to receiving comments or suggestions or advice from the Indian community or from the Indian investment community or from the foreign community to be able to make changes?
I think two things I would say about him. One, he's a good listener. And second, he is like, in this country, there's a commercial called the Energizer Bunny. Someone he keeps on going and going and going. He has so much energy that exudes on all the other people as well.
All right, gentlemen, thank you so much for speaking to CNBC TV 18. So that was yet another panel for you. We've been getting you updates from Silicon Valley through the day. Of course, we will continue. So stay tuned to CNBC TV 18 for that.
Well, Kritika, thank you for getting us all the voices of the who's who of the Silicon Valley. With that, it's a wrap on this edition of Inside America. Keep watching CNBC TV 18 for more news and updates through the day.